Hey guys, what's up? Hope everybody's doing good out there today. And just wanted to take a second real quick and just thank everybody for all the support you guys have shown the channel. Much appreciated. The comments, the people that have been following, people that have chose to be members of the channel, and just your overall interest in it, man. I much really appreciate that. I don't take it for granted. And like I said, I hope you guys are enjoying the content I'm putting out. I'm trying to put out sort of a diverse range of stuff so everybody doesn't get burned out on topics, which is sort of the topic that I'm going to give you guys today. Based upon, I had a couple requests, questions from some of the subscribers that they wanted to know a little bit more about my competitive fighting background. Because I've mentioned a little bit in the past about that I used to, compete in martial arts events, fighting for about 3 years it was. So I'm going to sort of go into that a little bit and sort of tell you guys what I learned from it, what I sort of learned about human behavior and all that type of stuff. So anyway, I just wanted to invite you guys one more time. If you guys haven't had a chance to subscribe to the channel, please do so. We're getting ready to have a big giveaway coming up probably in about a week. I got cases of Bridgeford jerky coming in to the winners, Seagar Fishing Line, Silverback sunglasses. So just hit that subscribe button. You guys can be eligible for that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this background that I had. I've always been interested in competitive sports. It's like a lot of kids are when they're younger. They have dreams about being pro athletes or whatever, and I was the same way. But I had there's something about competition that really attracted me, even when I was a little kid, simply because I think it pushed you a little bit harder. I mean, if you have some type of a competitive edge to you, a lot of times you can get better at something, you can grow quicker, and it sort of forces you to push yourself harder than you would if you weren't competing. And actually, when I was in my late teens, I'd actually qualified to get my I was heavily involved in bowling, and I qualified to get my PBA regional card, and I was going to try to basically fish on the professional bowlers circuit, professional bowlers tour back in the real early 80s. And at the same time, I was really getting involved in fishing too. So eventually fishing sort of overtook the bowling part of it. But as far as the competitive fighting background, I sort of tell you guys a little bit how it happened. I came from a real, I guess if you guys watch Andy Griffith much, the innocence around Andy Griffith in Mayberry. That's sort of how I was raised, and I wasn't exposed to a lot of things a lot of kids were when they were early on. I had a pretty sheltered upbringing just because of the community I was in. It was pretty wholesome. There wasn't a lot of bullying. There wasn't a lot of mean kids, that type of stuff. So I wasn't exposed to that element too much until I got into junior high school away from there. And when I got into junior high school, that's when the bullies usually start showing up, when kids are in 7th and 8th grade. And since I was was pretty laid back and gentle, I had to deal with that a little bit, and I didn't deal with it very good. I didn't really have the skills to do that. So I sort of, went through the whole junior high school experience, and not really thought much about it. And when I was 20, when was it? When I was when I was my about 21 or 22, in that range there. One of my best friends, Kurt, who's still one of my best friends of all time, this was back when we turned 21 and we were young and dumb and full of the zest of life. And Kurt liked to go out to country bars dancing. And I couldn't stand country music. I still don't like country music, but he would always drag me out to the bars with him, to go dancing. And when you're 21 years old and you're in a country bar, there's all types of stuff that can go wrong in that situation. And Kurt was he's one of the most intelligent dudes I've ever met. He's intellectual, super smart, but he was a state champion heavyweight wrestler, and he'd been in 100 fights. He was one of those guys that just could, he would never egg on a fight, but he would never, if anybody, looked at him the wrong way or challenged him, they were going to get a fight from him. And I was like the opposite. And Kurt and I were best friends, so we were like polar opposites of that. So anyway, Kurt dragged me out to a bar one night over in somewhere in Kansas, in southeast Kansas. I can't remember what it was. And we both had dates. Kurt was dating a girl at the time, and I was out with Kurt's girlfriend's best friend. So we were on a double date at this bar. And we had just sat down at the bar, got a table and everything. And anyway, this guy walked by and sort of started staring at Kurt's girlfriend, like sort of giving her the look, and walked by like that. And of course, Kurt would not let that pass. So Kurt stands up and he gets up and he starts mouthing this guy for looking at his girlfriend. Next thing I know, Kurt goes, "Come on, we're going outside." So anyway, they were going to go outside and settle this. So man's like, "Are you kidding me?" So I walked out there. I'm out there with Kurt, and we get out in the parking lot, this dark parking lot. And this guy that Kurt was mouthing, he had about 5 or 6 buddies with him, so he had 5 or 6 guys behind this guy Kurt was arguing with. 5 or 6 of his friends were behind this guy, and it was just me and Kurt. So they start mouthing back and forth, and they're mouthing and mouthing and mouthing, and I can see what's fixing on. His buddies are egging him to fight Kurt. And of course, Kurt would have killed this guy. You know, Kurt is big and mean, and you know he's got the wrestling skills. But there was 5 guys that were getting ready to jump in on it. So I knew what was going to happen. I knew that Kurt was going to hammer this guy, and his buddies were going to jump on him, and I'd have to get on it. And there's going to be 5 against 2. So anyway, I basically said, "Kurt, let's get the hell out of here." And I basically had to drag him out of there. So anyway, after that event, I got thinking about it. And I said, man, if that would have went down, if those 5 guys would have come in, I just simply didn't have the skill levels to make for that fight. I simply didn't. So I wanted to change that. And so I got enrolled, and I went to a local dojo in Joplin, Missouri, and I was going to train to be a competitive fighter, and I started doing that. And this particular dojo we had, it was not like the dojos you have now. Now, a lot of the martial art dojos, they give away black belts, brown belts, and the higher belts way too easy. They do that, I think, just to keep membership up. They don't want to get people discouraged. But this particular dojo that I was part of was a Storu Japanese karate dojo. It was hardcore. You had to work so hard for each belt. It took a long time to get through it. And I got in that situation and I started thriving. It was right up my alley. You know, spent about probably a year and a half, close to 2 years, just training, learning skills, sparring, fighting, learned all the katas, learned all the discipline, you know, surrounding, you know, the technique, which there's a lot of discipline required to it. Basically trained 2 years as a fighter. And at the end of that second year, our dojo started a traveling competition team. And we started going all around the 4-state area in these martial art tournaments. And I was doing great in them. It's like everything, it's like for whatever reason, I was just really good at it. It's like one of the reasons I like the Japanese karate is you had a combination of using your hands and feet both. It wasn't, you know, just straight boxing. It wasn't just like Taekwondo, which was a lot of kicking, that type of stuff. It was a good mix of that type of stuff. And I was fortunate enough I had several buddies in the dojo that, you know, we would spend a lot of time training ourselves between the two of us, and we would have intense sparring sessions. We'd have our own fights between us, and, you know, we got prepared for these events. So the first couple, you know, actually we had, I think, it was probably 4 or 5 events a year, and every single one of them I either won it or got second place in it. And I learned a lot about fighting in those particular tournaments, and I learned a lot about human behavior, you know, breaking down myths surrounding stuff like that. So I was going to share with you guys what I learned a little bit about this. First of all, one of the biggest things that I learned about fighting, and from being in a lot of fights, is that you can't ever underestimate your opponent. I don't care what it is. You can't judge an opponent based upon their physical looks. Because I've had some tournaments where, you know, we had each tournament we went through, we usually had probably 4 or 5 fights a day. and you could watch your competitors as far as the ones you were going to have to go up with. So I would study these guys that I was getting ready to fight, and some of the guys that looked really mean, really intimidating. Those are the ones that I could beat the easiest. I could just walk right through them. And a couple of the guys that were like a little bit smaller, you didn't really think that it's not, and they weren't really like, jacked or anything like that. They didn't look that intimidating. They were the guys that gave you all you wanted. I'm telling you right now, it was like unbelievable, the difference. So the first thing I learned is you can't ever underestimate your opponent that you have on there. And secondly, one of the things about fighting, there's two different aspects about it. There's competitive fighting and there's street fighting, and there's huge differences in both of them. Because in a street fight, you don't know what's going to go down. The street fight is a dangerous situation. One of the most stupid things that people can do is get into some type of a street fight, because you don't know what you're up against. I mean, I see a lot of these guys that have this cocky attitude. They think they're tough. They think they're mean. You don't ever know when you get in an argument with some nut job at a store or a corner that they could just freaking pull out a gun and blow you away right there. You can't ever tell. So right off the bat, or a knife or whatever, right off the bat, getting in any type of street fight is one of the most stupid things you can get in. And even if you do have an altercation with somebody and you come out on the top, you could easily injure that person. You could face a lawsuit. You could be in prison over it. Your entire life could be ruined over that. So fighting in that sense like that is stupid. It's ignorant. It basically, it's an example of somebody that does not have the skills to either diffuse the situation, walk away from the situation, and they allow their ego to take over. Even from somebody that's good. I mean, even like somebody that, like myself, that has a lot of training in it, you just can't do that. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And then on top of that, when you're dealing with a fighting situation, you don't know if somebody could permanently injure you. They could paralyze you. I mean, it's like a lot of different bad situations that come with that. So that's one aspect of it. But from a competitive fighting standpoint, that's the thing that I loved about it. I love fighting competitively, because fighting, particularly when you use some type of martial arts, it's an art form to it. I mean, it's an art form, just like ballet dancing. You're dealing with flexibility, you're dealing with timing, you're dealing with balance, you're dealing with focused and concentrated power. You're dealing with being able to read somebody's eyes, read somebody's movements before they actually make an action. So it's something that takes a lot of years of training. And there's a couple different things that can overweigh that. I mean, somebody that is just huge and giant and strong, yeah, they can overcome a lot of lack of fighting abilities. But guys, I'm telling you right now, if you got somebody that's a skilled fighter that understands body movements, understands how to move, and has been in a lot of fights, it's very difficult to beat that particular person on there. That last tournament that I competed in, it was the Battle of the Ages tournament up in Kansas City, Missouri, and this was like the best of the best in there. And so we went up there as a team, our school did, and we had couple of our guys, were already state champions. And I got up in there in that particular tournament, and like I said, the first two guys I beat pretty easily in that tournament. And then the third guy that I had to fight, I'd been watching him the whole time, and this dude was super intimidating. He was bigger than I was. He was fast. He mowed through his competitors real easy. But when I got up to him to fight him, he was like one of the easiest fights I had. Sometimes when you're up against somebody like that, you just automatically can read their movements, and you could take advantage of their mistakes. And I got to him pretty quick, and I made it to the finals of it. So anyway, the finals in this particular tournament was another student in my dojo. He had made it through there. And and we were good friends. And he was a lot smaller than I was. He was probably, I'm gonna guess, 5 or 6 inches smaller and probably 30 pounds lighter than I was. And we had sparred quite a bit together, but we never went hard at it. Really trying to win. So anyway, we got up in there, and we were in the finals. Both of us made it like that. And we got, going through there. It was just sort of like sparring in general. And basically, he wound up beating me in the finals over there, just off of speed. This guy was like, even though I had more reach on him and I had more power on him, he was so quick and he could read my movement so good that he could just get inside of me. Because always the advantage I had as a fighter is I had long legs and I could reach out there and I could get somebody from a long way away. But he had this, even though he was small, he had the ability to get inside real quick and and nail me like that. So he won the tournament, the last one. I got second. And after that was the last tournament that I was in, because the girl I was dating at the time moved. She was going to school in Kansas City, so we had to move from Joplin to Kansas City, and I sort of got out of it and got back into fishing a little bit. So anyway, that's the story, guys, of the competitive fighting that I was in for 3 years. It was a great experience. The thing that I still took out of that, I took one thing out of it from my fighting career, is flexibility. One of the big parts of our fighting was learning to be flexible. And I still do that every day today. And that's one of the things that has maintained a lot of the health that I've had at my age, is being super flexible. So I would highly suggest that again. But anyway, just wanted to share that with you guys. I'd encourage everybody out there to stay out of fights. There's nothing that good can come out of fights. Fighting is the most stupid thing that you can do on this planet. Like I said, it shows a lack of a lot of different stuff, and it can definitely go bad for anybody that's involved. So my advice to everybody is to try to be kind to each other, try to be friendly, try to be respectful, and try to tamp your ego down in those situations. And if you do that, you're going to wind up in a lot better shape, I can promise you. So anyway, hope you guys are doing good. Again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Much appreciated, and we'll talk to you guys later.